Hello and welcome to Brewers Daily, part of the Fan Arch Podcast Network. I'm your host, Dave Gasper. Lots to get to here on a Monday show, and we're feeling good on this Monday. The Milwaukee Brewers get a sweep of the Chicago White Sox to start the season 3-0, one of 5 remaining undefeated teams in Major League Baseball to start the season. This is far different than what we saw last year with the Brewers starting off 0-4, and we thought the season might have been over. And they were just struggling. They could not get anything going. Offensively, their pitching was struggling. It was terrible. This year, a complete 180, and it feels phenomenal. I mean, going from facing the Yankees to facing the Chicago White Sox does maybe play a part in this, but still, Pat Murphy has pointed out multiple times this weekend that the White Sox are going to be a team to be reckoned with in the AL Central. Granted, the AL Central is one of the weakest divisions in Major League Baseball, but still, the White Sox did do a lot of things this offseason where they have improved on paper. Munetaka Murakami is certainly a dude. That dude might be a problem. 3 homers in this series for the White Sox, but that's still not enough. It's not enough for the White Sox to be able to get the series victory or any victory in the series. Opening day, 14-2 win, obviously huge. Love to see it. Then on Saturday, a 6-1 victory. Chad Patrick being able to pitch pretty well in that one. And then Sunday, you get the snatch 'em back 9-7 victory over the White Sox. And we'll certainly get into more of that coming up here on the show. I mean, what an incredible win. An incredible different ways to win, too, for this team. Obviously, you had the blowout fashion on opening day. And then, a little bit of a tighter game coming up on Saturday. And then you're down for most of the game on Sunday. And, I mean, you were down big early. Brandon Sproat struggled initially, walked the first 2 guys he faced, then gave up a bloop single. Bases were loaded for Colson Montgomery. Boom, first pitch smacks a grand slam, and immediately it's 4-0 White Sox. It's like, well, this is not off to a great start. It was looking pretty poor for most of the game, but the Brewers just kept battling, kept picking away, and they were able to get the victory. And you end up with a sweep. I mean, you got the vibes feeling good. It is still March. It's still early on here in the regular season. You're only 3 games in. You got 159 more of these still to go in the regular season, but still, we're feeling good, feeling positives. You can't win a division in March. You can't lock up your postseason spot in March or April. You can lose it, but you can't win it. So these games are nice to have, but still a long road ahead for this Brewers team. Lots still to happen throughout the season, and the road just kind of seems to feel like it keeps getting longer because the first couple of days we see some injuries pop up. Jackson Chourio right before opening day, as we talked about. And then before the game on Saturday, Andrew Vaughn goes on the IL. So this whole thing, like as we're seeing it kind of play out, what we heard first was that the Brewers were calling up Jefferson Caro, their top catching prospect. He's been phenomenal. He's been on the verge of the big leagues for the past couple of seasons. Has dealt with some injuries, but you hear Jefferson Caro's getting called up. Oh, okay, great. That everyone's kind of excited a little bit for Caro, but you're calling up a catcher. Odds are that's going to mean one of your catchers is hurt. So if William Contreras is hurt, that's going to be a big problem for this team. Gary Sanchez, it's like he didn't even do anything on opening day, so how did he get hurt? Did he trip down some stairs? But no, it's not him. It is, we find out afterwards because everyone's kind of in a panic, like, oh God, who is it? It's Andrew Vaughn, who is dealing with a hamate fracture in his left hand. So we talked to Andrew Vaughn about this, and he told us that he got jammed in that first at-bat on opening day where he hit a grounder to short, got jammed, felt quite a bit of pain afterwards, played through it for the next couple of at-bats. Then he was pinch ran for mid-count in the 6th inning on opening day. So it's like, okay, you kind of feel like maybe it's because they're up by a lot. Like, let's get him some rest. Let's get Lockridge in there. Something like that. And in just kind of a late decision to get him taken out there. But also, apparently, that had nothing to do with it. Apparently, Andrew Vaughn didn't tell anyone about the injury until the day after. Vaughn said that he was trying to sleep that night, woke up in pain with his hand, and so he messaged the training staff, and they got it checked out in the morning. And sure enough, Andrew Vaughn has the hamate fracture in his hand. He is undergoing surgery today, so that is the plan for Andrew Vaughn. Going to have surgery quick, take it out, fix it, sew it back up. And the estimated timeline for return is 4 to 6 weeks for Andrew Vaughn. So he is going to be out for a month. That is a tough blow to this team. Andrew Vaughn had a pretty big spring training. They're counting on him to be quite a big part of their offense this season, one of their top right-handed hitters. So now the Brewers are out 2 of their top right-handed hitters, Jackson Chourio and Andrew Vaughn, not in the lineup, unavailable for the next couple of weeks. Chourio 2 to 4 weeks, and Vaughn 4 to 6. We've seen a couple of hamate injuries across Major League Baseball this spring. Francisco Lindor, Corbin Carroll, and they were able to make it back in about 5-ish weeks. So that's going to be the plan here for Andrew Vaughn. But you're looking at beginning of May before Andrew Vaughn is going to be able to be back in the starting lineup. So in the meantime, the Brewers called up Jefferson Caro, and the reason why the Brewers went with Caro instead of Tyler Black, who is a first baseman / left fielder, is because of the righty-lefty split here. Jefferson Caro is a right-handed hitter. Tyler Black is a left-handed hitter. Your remaining first baseman is Jake Bauers, who is a lefty. So if Bauers was the one that was hurt, then you'd see Tyler Black get the call. But since it's Vaughn, they wanted another righty to come up to be able to balance things out. And so Caro gets the call, and Gary Sanchez is going to get a lot of reps at first base when there is a lefty on the mound and it calls for a right-handed hitter, which is what we saw on Sunday. Gary Sanchez making his second career start at first base. He kept falling over on pickoff attempts. Like the pickoff attempt comes over, tries to put the tag on, he just fell like every time. It looks definitely not natural for Gary over there, but it's working well enough that they're going to roll with it, and they're going to have to roll with it for some time here, unless the Brewers make some sort of outside addition. But you get Gary Sanchez in there to hit lefties. He hits a home run against lefty on Sunday, Anthony Kay. So that was certainly great to see. But that's how it seems to be playing out. You're against lefties. You're going to have Sanchez in there playing at first base in all likelihood. Caro can then be your backup catcher. And you have 3 catchers on the roster here for the time being to help cover that first base DH catcher triad there that they're dealing with. So that's the call that the Brewers made. Again, that righty-lefty is why they went with Caro rather than Tyler Black, who is the last remaining healthy position player on the 40-man that is not on the active roster. So instead, he's just mashing down there in AAA Nashville. He's had a pretty strong start to the season down there. Excuse me. So, very, very sad news for Andrew Vaughn to see him out for a couple of weeks. But Caro's able to come up. He makes his Major League debut, draws a walk in his first plate appearance. So, congratulations to him. And excited to see what he can do. Not sure how much he'll exactly end up playing with this Brewers team because, again, with Contreras healthy, you're not going to be able to take him out of the lineup much. And, for DHing, Gary's probably going to have leg up on those at-bats, and certainly still have Yelich out there as well. The Jake Bauers in left field experiment's probably going to be put on hold for a little bit because he's just simply going to have to man first base on a more regular basis. So we're unsure exactly how much Caro's going to end up playing. They gave him the start on Sunday, but that's that may just be kind of a gap filler for the time being because there's not an actual injury to Contreras, which is what would really precipitate some actual length of playing time for Caro at the big league level. But certainly unfortunate news there for Andrew Vaughn. But great news for Christian Yelich. when he's able to come in and, obviously his spring wasn't necessarily the best, but spring training does not really matter all that much. And then you get to Sunday, Christian Yelich, 8th inning. The Brewers came into this inning down by 4, and then sure enough, single. Like the Brewers are able to rally. Luis Rengifo gets a huge base knock with bases loaded to bring in 2, and the Brewers get it within 1, so they're down 7-6. The White Sox bring in Sir Anthony Dominguez, their closer, their big time addition this offseason, and Pat Murphy pinch hits Christian Yelich because why wouldn't you? It certainly makes sense. It's something that he foresaw, that he told us about, that you're going to see. It's like, okay, look, they're going to bring in Sir Anthony Dominguez 8th or 9th inning, and you're going to be pinch hitting for Gary in that time. And sure enough, Christian Yelich comes up to pinch hit for Gary Sanchez. 2 runners on, 8th inning, and just absolutely smokes a home run. 421 feet down the right field line. Just pimped it, too. Oh, my goodness. The bat drop, the stare down. Oh, my God. It was beautiful. And the crowd is just going nuts. You knew it from the moment he hit it. I mean, that ball was scorched. And Christian Yelich gets his first home run of the season in an absolutely massive way. What an incredible game that the Brewers had on Sunday. They were down 7-2 in this game. They were down by 5 runs, and they were able to rally all the way back and get the win 9-7. The bullpen was lights out after Brandon Sproat. Sproat struggled in his first outing with the Milwaukee Brewers. 3 innings, bunch of walks, bunch of runs. Was not very effective, was not very efficient, but the bullpen picked him up. They shut things down from there. Then the offense picked him up and putting up a 6 spot in the 8th inning. Just really some incredible at-bats there from those guys. And it just reminds you of the Brewers of last year. How no matter how much they were down in games, they were never out. They always were able to battle. And just really, it culminates in sometimes just one big hit. And that is what Christian Yelich brought. And it was phenomenal. You don't see Yelich pimp home runs too much, but he pimped that one quite a bit. It was beautiful. And then the Brewers end up getting the win. Trevor McGill shuts the door as expected in the closer's role. He gets his first save of the season. So you love to see it. And the Brewers start off 3-0 for this group. So that is certainly a major positive. And now the Brewers are going to be welcoming in the Tampa Bay Rays next because they're starting on an interleague kick for whatever reason. Several, I think their first 4 series are all against teams from the American League. But hey, the Brewers do well against the American League. I mean, they are I think they are the top team in baseball in interleague play. I think since it was introduced. I mean, they have been phenomenal against the American League. So, all right, I want to get into some key takeaways here from the opening series. Now, look, it's only 3 games, so there's only so much you can really take away from this group because the sample sizes at this point in the year are so small that you can't make sweeping generalizations or sweeping conclusions on really anything from these guys because it is 3 games. Baseball, you play 162 across the season. 3 games is really not much in order to tell you a lot about this team. But key takeaway is that really they have the right mindset and mentality to be able to come back in these games. It's very similar to last year. They're never say die, how they're attacking pitchers and just battling up there at the plate. That is very similar to what we saw last season and the success that they were able to get because of it. And they're doing it here against the Chicago White Sox, and I know that the White Sox get a bad rap for the kind of team that they've had, and certainly they've earned that kind of reputation, but they do have some pretty good players on that squad, and just being able to have this kind of success early going in the season, I think is very important, and just being able to battle in those at-bats work the pitch counts, and be able to get the base knocks to keep the line moving. Also, another key takeaway, stolen bases are back. Finally, on Saturday, the Brewers stole 7 bases in that game off Reese McGuire and the White Sox pitchers. 7 bases. Last year, the Brewers didn't really steal a ton. Quentin Berry was obviously a big part of the Brewers' base running the past several years, all the stolen bases that they had. Q Berry then goes to the Chicago Cubs to join Craig Counsell. Boo. But then you get Julio Bourbon over there at first base, doing the base running, and then stolen bases really kind of took a downturn. And then the Brewers make the change there on the coaching staff. Bourbon moves to a different role in the organization, and they bring in Spencer Allen to be the first base coach and base running coordinator, base running guru there. And next thing you know, the Brewers are stealing bases like crazy. Stealing 7 on Reese McGuire on the White Sox on Saturday. That was huge. I think we're going to see a lot more games like that where the Brewers are just running like crazy because they certainly have the speedsters. They've got plenty of speed to steal bases all up and down that lineup. So I think we're going to be seeing it quite a bit because that's the way that they have to play. That's the way Pat Murphy has told us they have to play in order to be successful. And sure enough, it has led to quite a bit of success for them, not only in the past several years, but also in these first 3 games of the season. So I think we're going to see a lot more stolen bases, and I'm excited for that. I think that's phenomenal. I think that absolutely should be done, and I'm very excited for what they're going to be able to do stealing bases this season. So those are some of the key takeaways there. I think also Jacob Misiorowski is certainly a dude with what he did on opening day. Chad Patrick, his outing went a little bit short. Sproat went a little bit short, but I don't think that's necessarily anything bad on either guy. I don't think it's necessarily any sort of sign that, they're not going to be able to figure it out. They're going to regress this year. No, I think Sproat had a tough first outing for sure. I don't think that means that he is just not going to be good enough to be in this rotation. I think he's going to get at least a little bit of leash here because when we talked to Pat Murphy pregame on Sunday, and he was asked, how early did you have Sproat penciled in to the starting rotation? And Murph said, from the very beginning. So when Murph came into camp, when the Brewers came into camp, and he sketched out how he thought his rotation was going to look, he had Brandon Sproat in there. So clearly the belief in this kid was very high from the beginning, and he earned that rotation spot at the start here. So he's going to get at least a little bit more leash. It's not just going to be a one-and-done kind of thing for these guys. But Brandon Sproat, I think, will end up figuring it out. He just didn't quite seem synced up on Sunday. So I'm not going to make any sort of sweeping conclusion that Brandon Sproat is not going to be good enough to be in this rotation. He certainly has the stuff. It's just a matter of being able to command it. He really struggled with that, struggled with finding the zone and putting competitive pitches out there. And that's where it really kind of spiraled on him on his first game. But there's always going to be another game coming up, and that is the beauty of baseball. The Brewers have the Tampa Bay Rays coming up here for this series starting this week at AmFam. Kyle Harrison on the bump today. Brandon Woodruff on the bump tomorrow. Incredibly excited for that. And then, last game of the series, Jacob Misiorowski back on the bump again. So, going to be a very fun series here against the Tampa Bay Rays. Hopefully, Abner Uribe doesn't start any more fights with anybody. But still, it's going to be a lot of fun. And the Brewers are going to try and keep that undefeated streak alive as things move along here in the regular season. And Kyle Harrison gets his shot to do it here tonight. So, appreciate you watching. Be sure to subscribe. Get notified every single time a new episode drops here on Brewers Daily. Follow me on Twitter at dgasper24. I got a ton of great content on there. Post-game interviews, videos, and just overall talking about the game. Updates from Pat Murphy as they come in. So follow me on Twitter at dgasper24. Appreciate you watching, and we'll see you again tomorrow for another episode of Brewers Daily.